What do you own in your life right now?
Right now, a
Yeah, like
house,
assets and stuff.
house and a car.
Yep. Anything else?
I used to own a business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What kind
small
of business?
convenience store.
Where was it? Like, was it in like a big metropolitan area or smaller? Like,
Metropolitan area.
okay, cool. Um, do you? What's sort of like give us a little bit of background on how what got you even into wanting to open up a convenience store, and what got you out of it.
Well, I always wanted to have my own business when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's what I got my degree in.
Mm.
In accounting.
Accounting?
Accounting and business.
So it was a business school, but accounting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was always interested in it because I knew I was always go back and would want to have my own business. Um,
Yep.
so during COVID, I got laid off like everybody else, almost a lot of other people, and one of my friends who also owns a business, liquor store at that time, came to me asking if I wanted to start a small business with him. And when I didn't have a job at that time, so I was like, you know what, I can probably do a convenience store if it's the right price. So we started looking. I was on unemployment, so doing nothing at home. Everybody was home.
Doing nothing at home. You weren't applying to places.
Uh, somewhat.
Okay.
Everybody was getting that unemployment.
Okay.
So, but I got the opportunity, so we started looking. Like I think May, July, June, I think, around 2020, and took us a couple months. Found a business that.
Well, go like let me. I'm gonna peel into the process a little bit. So you made the decision that you were gonna go into business with one of your friends.
Yeah.
Right. So you're thinking about it like, there's a certain amount of money I got to put in. You're expecting a certain return. How'd you get some of those early questions answered? Like, did you just ask him because he had prior business experience? Well, how'd you go through through the motions?
I mean, yeah. So my friend, he had been running his business for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but one big thing for me was cost. I had just been working for a few years, so I hadn't saved up that much. So financing was going to be a big thing, even if I got involved.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be taking any big loans or anything. So that was my big goal. So if I were to ever get out of it, I didn't want to be in big debt. So something small I wanted to do. So when we started looking, there were some stores that were.
And was it you and him, or did you get like a broker or something?
No. So we were looking mostly ourselves on, on websites, on Facebook, and any good leads we got, we just drove and talked to the owner or the agents of the stores and looked at a lot of options. And then we ended up finding one that was good. So took us about 3 months to start it.
How did the negotiation, so it took around 3 months to negotiate. How did that kind of go? Like, did you work through through like a third party for it, or did you when did the lawyers get involved?
So originally there was an agent we spoke to. So what was happening was my friend was looking to buy a liquor store that was right next to the convenience store, and he came to me. He's like, "Look, I'm looking to buy this liquor store, but there's a convenience store right next to it that the owner owns both of them, and he wants to get rid of both." So originally, so it was going to be like a package deal. The liquor store deal ended up falling through, so I really liked the store. It was like 3,000 square feet. It was like a 99-cent store, so I was like, this community, they really needs a grocery store, so we can really take advantage. And so we started negotiating with the owner. There was, because of what we wanted to do, we could tell the way he really wanted to get rid of the store, because he's like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
So we're like, we'll take it off of you, but you got to give us a good deal, We actually got him to agree to 100% financing. So for our first business, I didn't have to put any upfront money, down payment. So and that was big for me because I didn't have that much savings. So I knew that we can go in. I knew what the store was doing, and we can probably pay that financing off in a couple of years. So
like day one, you're running the store. You got training from the guy, right?
Yeah, a little bit,
So day one, you go in, You're behind the cash register. You're like, okay, I've never really done stuff like this before. What is going through your mind? Like, okay, how do like is customer service a part of the formula? Is I got to like, are you looking at sales by the hour? Are you worried about like being efficient and like how you're doing things, whether it's taking in orders and handling the money? What are some of the things that are going through your mind day one and then the first month?
I mean, it was a lot of things because when you're going into a business, you have so many ideas. You're like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do this and that, or this is how much money we're making. I'm gonna count, my friends gonna count. We were making projections. Hey man, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. But
well, it's easy to make projections.
Yeah, easy to make projections. And he had no experience with convenience stores. Like you said, he was a liquor store owner, and the only experience I had was just working at a gas station when I was a teenager and like in high school and college. So I went in just as an opportunity. I was like, you know what? I haven't enjoyed my couple jobs. They've been a little boring, So I got the opportunity. If I'm ever gonna do it, do it now, right? So, yeah, when we went in, it was daunting. So in the beginning, it was kind of scary. Like, I was like, man, because it's a big risk you're taking. I had a house, so I had to make sure, my mortgage is getting paid. How am I gonna pay for my car and everything else? So, the business was enough money and making enough money to, keep turning it over, but we had to get it up to a point where I can get paid, my friend can get paid, and the business can sustain.
So the first month you were settling in, you were making your projections,
Yep.
you were counting the money at the end of the day. You took a salary out of the company
Yes, I had to
pay your mortgage and bills, right?
I wanted to make sure that I was taking a salary because I couldn't rely. We wanted to keep all the net profit in the stores just so we can reinvest in the store. I don't think we actually ended up taking out any profit, me or him. So the person I was working with.
Wait, so you're saying
in 3 years?
In 3 years,
Yes.
You haven't taken not a dollar worth of profit out of the store.
Yep, me, and I took my salary. My partner, who was a silent partner, he wasn't really there. I was the one that was there mostly, 12, 13 hours a day at the store, especially in the beginning. We had no employees. So 3,000 square feet store by myself in a, kind of a troubled neighborhood, but,
wait,
you had to watch out a lot of things.
Wait, kind of a troubled neighborhood. I think you're downplaying that.
Yeah, I felt like I could handle it. It wasn't something I never felt. There was a lot of issues, inner city. The cities had to do a better job of, controlling the things outside the store. But inside, I felt very comfortable dealing with the things that were happening.
What are some of the things that were happening?
Well, outside?
No, inside the store.
I mean, inside it was pretty normal. You get
Did you have to deal with people stealing?
Oh yeah. Big thing. Obviously, inner city.
Did you get into any verbal arguments, shouting matches?
So I'll say in the beginning, this was me learning. I did and it wasn't a good idea,
Oh, was it a good idea?
No,
what?
Because you don't know what people can do to you. So
okay.
It's better to.
So like, how would that come up, right? So like they would come in, would you run out of something, so they start getting mad at you? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, people would complain about anything. So one thing was nobody knew I was the owner. I showed them that I'm the manager of the store. Because people will complain to you if they find out. I felt like it was just better to show that I was just an employee, like part of the community, and we wanted to do good. Like I said, it was a 99-cent store, so there was no food, no nothing. And when we got there, the first couple of months, it took us a while because the old owner didn't want to take the inventory with him, and we didn't want to just throw it out, even though the store was financed. We could pay it in the next 2 years. We ended up, keeping the inventory, slowly selling it off. We actually ended up donating a lot of it, because there was a lot of toys and stuff. So we talked to some of the community members. One of my reps that was coming from one of the companies, she had a charitable organization, so we gave her some stuff. So we just tried to empty out a lot of space so we can bring in food and, call in convenience store things so people can just come and, because there was not big grocery stores around. There was only one other competitor, and people had a lot of complaints about that. So we were right in the middle. So we try to say, we can probably help people out.
What So another thing that you probably had to deal with is, okay, so you're managing the store. You're thinking about, how much money's coming in, how much you have to pay out in inventory, maybe even sprucing up the store. Like, should you put renovations in or not? HVAC system, like the heat. If when in the winter when it got cold, you have to think about buying that. What, like, not talking about some of those, but some of the like sort of direct day to day costs, such as like payroll. Did you have to deal with any issues around that in terms of, not being able to pay people or anything like that?
No, like I said, like though I never felt that we were not going to be able to do things for the store, like pay employees or get inventory in. It was all about we couldn't take out the extra money on the side that we wanted to, but everything else. That's why I was able to stay there for 3 years. So there was a couple times, where we did have to speak to the landlord about, maybe lowering their rent and stuff so we can hire more employees because it was becoming.
You negotiated that?
Yes. So
What?
after like a year and a half,
So how much was the rent?
$5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah, and that's us being. I didn't know. Like we actually ended
So
up
$5,000 for 3,000 square feet.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And you negotiated down from that number?
yeah, we negotiated down to. We actually got him down to 4, and then took us a while. Got him down to 35, and then I think the last year we were paying him $2,500.
You got him down to half
Yes.
the original lease agreement rent.
Well, yeah, we showed the landlord, look, we're making enough money, but at the end we were struggling to pay some of the bills.
And he was willing to cut your rent in half.
Because the landlord was looking at it in a way where he's like, do I want to kick you guys out, take another 6 months in a troubled area where, because when we were selling the store, it took us a year because a lot of owners would come, they would look at the area, they're like, I'm not doing it, and would leave. Some of them wouldn't even walk through the door. And my agent would call me, hey, guy showed up, he was standing at the red light, and he just drove away because all the things he saw outside. So we told that to the landlord. I'm like, there's a lot of issues, so you got to lower the rent. We actually negotiated a new lease for a new buyer.
Yeah.
Just whoever decides, because rent was a big thing. They're like, we're not paying $5,000 rent. So I was able to negotiate for 10 years, for 35 years with like no increases in the next 5.
What?
So the landlord was a very good guy, and because of that, we were actually able to sell the store.
If one of the tips maybe that you could you'd give yourself or give to the audience would it be don't be afraid to negotiate rent or negotiate terms with the landlord.
No, like if you feel a lot of landlords, they don't care, But we knew the guy. Well, actually, he had just bought the building 6 months before we bought the store. So he had put in money. So he was one of them that wanted to. There was a lot of others, a laundromat, a couple restaurants, a liquor store, like I said.
He wanted to keep his tenants.
Yeah, keep his tenants. Everybody was paying. So we were able to explain. I was able to explain things, and my partner was able to too. We did meetings with him. It took him a while. In the beginning, he didn't want to do it, but we told him like, if I can't afford to pay you rent, then I don't know. There's nothing we're going to be able to do about it, because eventually it was going to get to that point. Yeah. And then, when it was 6 months, I was like, nobody's buying the store for $5,000, right? Because we made a mistake. Because I didn't know what a rent should be. You should do more research.
Well, how would you know how much rent you should pay? Is it looking at the area to see what other places are getting charged?
I think that would have been better. We should have seen the area, what the market was. But I think I looked at, and me and my friend, we looked at the numbers of how the store was doing, like how much money it was bringing in. I'm like, oh, we can afford to pay $5,000 rent because of what the money is bringing in. But then eventually we realized, like, even with paying that much rent, we're only turning over. I'm not making the extra money.
So it's two forms of analysis. One, analyze the sales that are coming in, net profit, to see if you can actually pay the rent. Yeah. And two, see what the rent should be in the area that you're trying to rent for. Yep. For the second part, how do you know what other people are getting charged for rent? How do you find that out?
I mean, you don't. It's just most people, they see the property values. First of all, in the plaza, nobody's ever going to tell you what rent they're paying. You know,
So
unless you have
how do you figure out that second question? Is it
I think you look at the square footage of the area. Definitely look at the sales of the business. You know, see maybe other stores. Look online, what other people are paying, and
so you can go online and see roughly
yeah,
maybe
roughly, yeah,
okay.
yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can walk into a store and ask the guy, "Hey, how much rent do you pay for this?" Well, I don't think most people are willing to do that. And I think one way mistake we made was I went in as a
Yep.
single employee, and hired people later. So the reason the last owner was able to make it work because he had a liquor store right next to it, so he was making a lot of money from that. So he was able to get his employees from liquor to the store. He had his parents working with him.
Yeah.
So he didn't have the labor
Yeah.
expense that
So-
we ended up having. You know, at the end, we thought we were gonna grow the business. It just was taking longer than we wanted.
Let's talk about that. What made you unable to really grow it in the accelerated way that you originally thought?
Capital would be the biggest reason. Actually, in the
Well,
beginning,
you went in without having to put a lot down, so capital was still a restraint.
yeah, but I think one mistake we made was we put a lot of the money into the renovations of the store, and then we
okay.
ended up realizing that we could have done that once the business was stable enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think we put, even though we financed the store, me and my friend, we probably put 60 grand into getting a new floor, getting tiles, cleaning, getting fridges, counters, computers. We got a POS system. The old owner was just using a regular register. So, and then like 30 grand probably in inventory and stuff. We actually had one issue, like our HVAC system went kaput like 4 months into the business.
Jeez.
So yeah, and it was during COVID, so people didn't have, there was no parts. So it was very hard. So I think from like November to February, the first winter, I was wearing 4 layers of clothes every day
Oh my god!
in the store without.
And customers are probably cold too, right?
Yeah, customers were saying it's colder inside than outside.
Oh
you know?
my
So,
god!
yeah, so it took us 4 months.
So,
to get
but that's
HVAC
one
system.
of those things you have to watch out for is when you get in right to the new business. A lot of times landlords don't cover that stuff. The HVAC.
Commercial landlords do not cover anything that's inside and part of the store. Everything that's outside, that's one difference you'll see. So people don't understand what residential landlords cover and what commercial landlords. Commercial landlords, I think, is very easier for them. They're like,
What are some other things? So is it anything on the outside they essentially cover? Like they'll do the roof,
the roof, they'll, you know,
lighting outside maybe.
lighting if they want, you know, anything that has to do with the 4 walls, I guess, if you want to say, that's their responsibility. Anything inside, as the business owner, that is your own responsibility. Yeah. So when the HVAC system went, fridges go, the floor, you know, we actually got the landlord to pay for 30% of the floor renovation.
Inside. So even though they normally wouldn't,
No,
you
yeah.
got the landlord to pay for that.
Yeah.
It seems like this landlord is a little
He was a very nice guy. He was very
He's a
nice.
pushover, man.
I wouldn't say that. People would want a landlord like that, you know.
Good,
Like I said,
okay.
he wants to keep the rent. Like you can look at it, if you're a landlord, do you want to sit on a space that's not paying you rent for 1 year? You're paying property taxes, real estate taxes on that.
True.
So what's the point? So I'd rather get $2,500 a month instead of nothing, you know.
Let's go into maybe a little more deeper into your background, your education, but related to the store. So you did accounting. Did that play a little bit in understanding the financial fundamentals of the store and stuff? Like, how hard is it to get your books together? And did you do the balance sheet, statement of cash flows, income statement, or was it just sort of the income statement?
In the beginning, I mean, we thought we were going to be able to do it, but we had, you know, QuickBooks and stuff that we used to use. We did have an accountant, you know, to do our taxes. So we were paying him monthly. So we're like, we're going to provide everything to the account, you know. So we had.
So just to unpeel that some more. You had an accountant. You paid monthly.
Yep.
For doing your taxes at the end of the year.
Taxes at the end of the year, and we had him do our monthly books. You know, but
Like what was he doing that QuickBooks wasn't?
like income state. He was getting ready. We had him do our sales tax and stuff. He did a lot of our licensing in the beginning. So because my friend wasn't able to focus as much on the store, my focus was mostly running the day-to-day activities. So I didn't have time to worry about all the other stuff. You know, so QuickBooks was very helpful in making sure we had the checks in the computer, the invoices in. So I was able to get all the data into the system and then give that to the accountant so he can do the balance sheet, do the income statement, you know. And it was much easier at the end of the year because my dad also had a small business, so even today. And I was able to help him, get it set up with a new POS system. But originally, when I didn't have any ideas, you're literally giving the accountant the year's worth of receipts and where he's going through to make sure what sales you're doing. And
So
stuff,
you would do that again. You would get an accountant again.
Yes.
Would you have a lawyer too?
Yeah, lawyer in the beginning. Yes, if you're buying a store, get a lawyer.
How about when you're selling? When you're selling a store?
You should have a lawyer. You know, you want to be able to look through. You're making a big transaction, so you know you want somebody to be able to. I mean, depends on what the lawyer is going to charge.
Did the lawyer also set up the LLC for you and make sure that was all squared away so that, you know, typically you have an LLC if you want to shield yourself from any liabilities of the store, right? If you went in without an LLC, someone slips on the floor, they crack their back, they can come after you personally.
Yeah. So yeah,
unless you had a LLC.
Yeah, you should definitely have an LLC. Don't put anything in your personal name or anything. But yeah, so lawyer did help us out a lot in the beginning because we didn't know what licenses to get and stuff. So yeah, he helped us open the LLC, helped us get the sales and use license, security license, all other type of licenses. But you can do that yourself if you do your research. And one of my friends just started a business like a month ago, and he was calling me for all these questions I went through, and he actually applied for everything himself.
Really?
Because I had the knowledge, so I was able to give to him, you know. So, yeah, so he didn't have to go through a lawyer and stuff. So you can do this yourself, but you should know what you're doing.
What were some of the tips you gave him?
Well, told him don't spend too much money on renovations and stuff, you know. Just be ready. Don't get overly excited, you know. Just
don't get excited. It's not fun.
Yeah, you don't want to go in just thinking that you're just going to be making bank, you know. It's a process. So he's just starting, you know. It's been
what are some think about this. What are some like good tips that you've given him, and would you give like anyone if they're starting their own business? So don't be too excited. You know, don't try everything yourself.
I mean, you should be excited. I don't want people to take me in the wrong way. Like, you're starting a new, dream of yours.
But what are some things that you look back on your store and think, okay, I could have done this different, besides spending too much on non-inventory stuff? How about like employees? Like, have you had any bad issues with employees?
Yeah, so that's another thing you're gonna learn. To trust people.
Did you have any specific incidents with any previous employees?
Well, the first employee we hired, calling out every week.
Every week?
Every week. Well, he was only working one day.
He worked one day?
Yes, and he would call out every other week, almost. So I made the decision, because I would be home, I'm like, oh, I can't come, and then that's another thing. So your employee calls out, this is your business. You got to go.
You show up.
You can't close the store.
How about any other employees?
Yeah, well, the next one we hired, she was good for a while, but, she ended up stealing money.
Ended up stealing?
Yeah, from the lottery. From the lottery, state's money, yeah. So we ended up finding out. Took us a couple weeks to figure it out.
How'd you find out?
Just counting the money. I'm like, something's not making sense, because when you're collecting your own money, it's much easier to track, with your POS system. But with the way the lottery system worked, with the old system, with the way they do their books, with the settlements and stuff, you don't know the exact cash you make that you're going to be depositing every month, so every week. So yeah, but it wasn't. What was happening was, I'm like, oh, I only deposited $2,000, and then next month it's like $10,000. Next week it's like $10,000. I'm like, I didn't even collect that much money. What's going on?
Ooh.
So that's how I ended up figuring out.
So like, how much was she stealing?
I think she ended up stealing about $7,000.
$7,000.
That's why lottery's cash. You make a lot of cash, So
$7,000.
Yep.
Out of how many weeks was she doing this?
I mean, I don't know the exact number of weeks, but I
More.
started. I think it was probably a month to maybe 6 weeks. So,
Wow.
but it was kind of my fault. Like that's what I'm saying. Don't put too much trust. Like I had one employee, so you know,
Wait, how'd you handle that? Like, so you found out what ended up happening?
nothing. I just spoke to her. I said, "Did you do this? I have you on video." That was another
Did you
thing.
do this? I have you on video.
Well, yeah, most people don't like to admit, even if they're on video. They're not gonna admit. So when that happened, she admitted it, and I paid her for that day, and I was like, "That's it." And
You said that's it. Like
that's it.
you
Yeah,
can't
no, you
don't come
can't
back.
come back. Yeah, and then I ended up working for by myself for another 3 months. So until I found the right employee that I wanted, and then the last employee I had, he was very good. I still talk to him today, and
That's awesome.
he was a good guy and stuff. He's waiting for me to open another business,
Yeah.
but I haven't had the chance to do that yet.
So what are some things that you're doing now? Like so you wrapped up the store. You into like doing online things, or are you doing like are you trying to get back into that later on? Are you going to be into real estate? Like what are you thinking?
I mean, real estate is a big thing that I definitely want to get involved in. Maybe not something big, but maybe like a residential house. But like I said, you need capital to do that. And
That the capital is the true barrier to entry, really, right?
right now, that's my biggest concern because I'm never gonna say that I made a mistake by doing starting the small business, but I learned a lot from it. And I don't know if I would do a similar thing, but I would definitely do more research into whatever venture I go into and make sure that I have the money. And I don't think I'll be willing to take the risk of, hey, I'll see in 2 years if I'm profitable or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 32 now, so I can't take that risk. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe have a family a year or two. So you got a lot of things to think about.
I think, for me, when it comes down to like, if I wanted to run my own small business, I would be scared of like the three top things on the very top of my mind are one, the financing to get into buying the store, right? 20% of a $500,000 store.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to commit that much to one
yeah.
location, and you never know what will happen in those years. And it's like you're talking about like a upwards of a 10-year commitment. So that, let's say I was able to have all the money up front, I know when I get into it, I probably have to incur a lot of debt. I don't like debt, right? So
Me neither.
if I don't have a lot of money for inventory, and I gotta get like a line of credit out with a supplier, that's scary.
I had to.
Yeah, you did?
We got a line of credit from the bank just for inventory. Like I said, we put so much money into renovations. Eventually, we were running out, and we had to. We
What?
gotta.
How much were you levered at the time? Like, so you didn't have a down payment going
No.
in. You get this line of credit.
So the line of credit was the only thing we got from the bank. All the other money that we put in was my and my friend's personal money that we
Okay, so
put in. Yeah, and
you,
everything was 50-50. So whatever, if I'm putting $1,000 in, for example, he's putting the exact amount. And then I actually ended up running out of money. So another thing is, if you're going to go into a business with a partner, make sure you talk about every little detail, especially when it comes to money. And him and I knew exactly what his responsibilities were and my responsibilities were. And eventually got to a point where I had no cash anymore. So the only money I was making was the money that
you
from
got
my
from the
salary.
store.
Yeah, from my salary. Just so, and it was just enough so I can pay for my house and my other bills and stuff. And eventually got to a point where he had to put money into the store, and that was it ended up becoming a loan from him. So when we sold the business, he took that loan he ended up providing. Like I think he ended up putting $20,000 extra than I did by the end of it. So when we sold the store, he took the $20,000 out, and then whatever was left, that's what we split 50-50. So go after we sold it, I got very lucky, with I didn't really walk out with that much debt, So
How was so okay? So just the timeline of things. You go into the store, you're excited on your first day. You're putting a lot of money into the store, furnishing it, stuff like that. You put a lot of inventory into the store. You have
yeah,
to do like
shelvings and all that stuff. New shelvings.
HVAC
Yep.
systems
That
and
costs a
all
lot
that
of
stuff.
money.
Yeah, right. Filling up the store, taking out the old product, putting in the new. Now you fast forward. You've done this for 3 years. So your third year, you're like, okay, I am done. I'm done with the store. What led you to that, right? So like I know a lot of times people are like would probably tell you, oh, commit, you already bought into it. What made you want to leave this one? And do you regret leaving?
No, I don't think I regret
Okay.
leaving because I feel like I'm much happier with my life right now.
Okay. So what led you to leave?
Well, obviously you had the inside with the finance issues that we had, but I think if the store was in a better area where we didn't have to deal with external issues that were happening because of customers and crime and stuff, I probably would have stuck it out for another year, seeing how well I can do. The money wasn't worth it for me to deal with people selling crack outside, the police not doing a lot of stuff, people peeing, defecating, stealing all the time. Like stealing was a big issue.
So you made it sound like a smaller thing earlier when you mentioned all that.
Yeah, well, that was a big I don't know if it was I wouldn't consider it that big, but it was
You had crack dealers,
crack and
people peeing,
marijuana.
pooping, and what else?
I once saw two dudes fighting with guns outside. They didn't shoot, but they both had their guns out. And I was being stupid, just standing up front right by the glass door looking outside.
You're watching them?
Yeah, that was a dumb decision.
Oh my god! You're like, yo, who's gonna shoot first? Where are they gonna aim at?
Nothing ended up happening.
So okay, and then like okay, anything in the store?
Yeah, biggest problem was, stealing was like shoplifting was a huge thing. And another thing is, I think one thing I learned was I try to do my business the right way, where I'm not messing with EBT cards. With a lot of businesses try to, they take extra money from a customer and give them $50 on 100, or buy stolen items. So in that type of area, people will come. You would have customers will walk in with a case of Red Bull or 3 bottles of laundry detergent, $15 worth of laundry detergent. They'll sell it to you for $2. So I try to keep that thing out of my store. I didn't want to deal with it.
Did you sell Lucy's?
No. I just think I didn't sell crack pipes. No, I just think a lot. The thing with a little rose in it, So it's not a crack pipe. It's a decoration piece.
Oh yeah.
It's a decoration piece. So I didn't want to do that. I know a lot of people will say, people will tell you like those cities, that's where you make the money in, which is true. But I think if I was making a lot of money, I probably would have been able to deal with that issue. Maybe me being there physically all the time. Like I was doing like 70, 80 hours a week, especially if my...
Wait.
Yeah,
You're
in the
doing
beginning...
70, 80 hours a week.
12-hour days almost every day.
So Monday through Saturday?
Saturday, and then sometimes I was working for... I think the longest I went was like 4 months.
And what time did you go in?
9 o'clock. I did 9 to 9.
9 to 9.
And then Saturday and Sunday I did 10 to 9.
And did you have other employees at the store while you were there, or you just...
No, so I couldn't afford to work at the same time as...
you couldn't afford having 2 people on payroll.
Yeah. So,
No.
So if I was staying with an employee there, that means like I'm never gonna get rest. So that's another thing, And then also you have your vendors that bring you, all your items, but a lot of the stuff you have to go get it yourself. So you gotta take trips to. As it's a small business, I can't afford to get deliveries for everything. So you gotta go to Aldi's and ShopRite and all these stores, Walmart and stuff, and.
Aldi's was a supplier, so you'd get it at retail and then sell it to another person at retail plus whatever your profit is.
Yeah, because I'm taking my time out of my business to go get the milk for you. So
the same product that they can get at Aldi's,
Well, yeah, you gotta understand. A lot of people don't have cars, so they can't afford.
So your
in
place-
that area,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
So they
A
people
lot of foot traffic.
they take a lot of foot traffic, and most of my customers, they didn't want to go to the supermarket. It was too far for them. So that's what the convenience store is for. We were trying to make it into a grocery store. It never got to that point. I mean, there were some conversations about us cutting the store down to half or even less.
Like you only utilize 1,500?
Yeah. So, but then we thought about, why should I be paying $5,000 rent for 70% of the space being empty? Because the landlord doesn't care what you do with the space, as long as he gets his rent. So there was a lot of
You
things.
also negotiate down 50%, so
Yeah, but we negotiated the rent down, but I couldn't fill 3,000 feet worth of worth of space, So that was a big thing.
So you had a lot of crime in your area, so it was a very active neighborhood.
Yeah, no
And
shootings.
No shootings.
That was the only thing.
People pointing guns, but no shootings. Okay, cool.
Never,
Good.
never. In my 3 years, I never saw a live shooting. So
Good.
it ended up being good.
Make it, yeah. Okay, good. You made it out of there.
But I did get threatened a lot. People would threaten you over 35-cent candy.
Didn't you push someone out the door?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the beginning, I was a little protective of the store, and yeah, this kid came in, just knocked everything down. I was stalking. I was like, I just did all this work for no reason, So
It wasn't a kid, right?
he wasn't he was probably like in his early 20s, So
Oh man. Okay. Okay.
So,
okay. You pushed him out of the store. Did you have a bat?
I had a metal bat in the store. Yes.
Did you take it out?
To scare some people, yeah. Once I took the bat out and scared this one guy, and he jiggled his pants, and friggin' muffins fell out of it because I saw him stealing. I let him do it. I was like, "You're gonna take it out or not, or I'm gonna hit." Obviously, I never hit anybody or anything, but
I took out the bat. He
Yeah.
jiggled his pants, and muffins came out. That is a crazy.
Hostess
story.
cakes. Hostess cakes.
Hostess cakes came out. You scared the hostess cakes out of him.
And then panhandling. That was probably the worst.
Really?
Thing.
A lot right in front of your store.
Well, you got to understand the place, and like this is what I'm saying. But we had people. There was customer. 95% of the customers, probably more than that, were they're hardworking people. They're doing their regular jobs, and they just want to get by the day. And even they would come and complain about things like, I hate coming here because I got to come here. Somebody's asking for $1, $5. I earned my money. I shouldn't be having to pay, And then one thing I realized, like a lot of the people that were like giving problems were the same people. It's not like every month you got a different group. So same people were there for 3 years, that I was there.
What would happen if you called the cops?
The city, I felt like they didn't pay attention to the area as I was in as much because there was no shootings there, I guess. They were worried about the other side of the city, and even if I did call, they would take hours to come. 3 hours, 4 hours, something. Sometimes they would call me and like, hey, do you still need help? I'm like, no, they stole the
They
stuff.
call you back and say, hey, you
like
good?
3 hours later.
No way.
And I'm like, they stole the stuff already. What do you want me to hold the criminal for you? So a lot of times, so I just got used to it. I'm like, this is just part of the day-to-day activity. And
so, okay, you have, you made the decision that you're out of it. What was the selling process like? How long did it take you to sell? Did you work with a broker?
So originally we did work with a broker. He had, what was he charging? I think 10% or $25,000, whichever was going to be higher depending on how much we started very, the price was different, and then, we have to bring it down and stuff, adjust to the market and stuff. And then the rent similar, because, you learn a lot of things when other buyers are coming. That's another thing. So I saw the difference between what me and my friend did wrong in buying the store and what other people did when they came to look, because it took us 1 year. Probably a little bit more. Yes. So I think we started in May of 2022 and we sold it in December. No, probably December 2022, I think. Or we started in 2021, something like that. Okay. I don't remember the exact dates, but it was exactly. But we ended up bringing the price down so much that we actually had to let go of the broker because we're like, I can't afford to pay this guy $25,000, So we got rid of the broker, and then I had a friend help me later on, and he was able. And it took him another 5 months.
He sucks.
Yeah, and he did a better job than the broker. I'll say that. Much
Yeah?
better job. Yes.
Okay.
Much better job than the broker did. But yeah, he was able to find us a buyer. So that was a good thing. But yeah, so
By the way, guys, I'm the broker. So keep it coming. Keep it coming.
he was really good. Barker was really good. It helped out a lot. He helped out a lot.
I think so. Now, my perspective, selling your store. I think one of the most annoying parts, nothing to do with you or your business partner, had everything to do with the the amount of people who they whether it's their first time buying a store or not, some of them were experienced, they almost were offended at the price, the initial price, and then when we brought it down, right, they were like, buddy, you can't be selling it at this price, like it's not worth it. And I'm like, listen, it's worth whatever someone willing to pay it for. And at one of the prices that people were saying, oh no, it's too high, it's too high, we were able to find a seller and they were able to pay for it. And I think the seller, there was some stuff that happened afterwards. I'm not going to get into it, but I think we gave him a good deal.
Yes.
At the time, we were flexible with the transitioning of that store to him. And I think at the very least, both parties were as happy as possible. Right.
Yeah, I think one thing is, from experience that we actually were going to sell it for some other guy for less price.
Yeah.
And he was somebody that was making us feel like this place is worth nothing. And we ended up holding our own, because I understood the value of the business, and, you did too. And the person we ended up selling it to paid $30,000 more than what we were originally going to sell it to. And that guy actually ended up calling us back asking if we're ready to sell after we sold the store.
We already sold.
So you should know, like, if it's a reasonable price and you can get it, don't get into the peer pressure, because people will come and they'll make it sound like it's the worst thing ever.
They'll say anything and anything in the world. That even before looking at your financials, they will say your business is not worth what you're pricing it at. And I'm like, everyone has their own opinion on what the value should be. They look at price per square foot, or they look at the lease terms. Does it have gas? Does it not? People always try to distract you from your original base price.
Yes.
Don't settle.
Yep.
Don't settle. And I know we had to bring the price down a few, because there are times where in the beginning we may have priced it too high relative to what the next alternative offer would be. So we did adjust the price a bit there, but I think at the end of the day, we held our own and we were able to get that sold.
Well, I said sometimes it's not really worth, like, your sales matter for the store, but you have to look at the location. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to come think, like we came in thinking, man, this is a great location. We can do a better job than the last guy. The person that took it from us, he thought he could do a better job than us. And I think where he's at, he had a little more capital to put in. He's probably is doing better. I haven't been back, but, pretty sure he's doing better than us. But yeah, so don't settle. Wait for the right buyer. If you can afford to wait. Like I said, we weren't losing money, so I was able to wait for the right buyer. If I was losing money, then you would have no choice. You got to let it go, because you got to cut your losses. But yeah, we weren't never at a point where I was always able to turn it over. So.
Agree. Okay. Cool. And, just to wrap up, I know we got into a lot of things. It's definitely a good starting point, just hearing your story as a small business owner, getting some insights. Now you're done with the store. What are some things that you're doing now, like in your job? Is it, do you take what you did at your store and apply it to what you do now? And if you could talk a little bit about what you do.
I think I like to look at it in a way where whatever happens in the way, whatever God intends for you. And this new job I have is much different from the old accounting jobs I had, where I was just cubicle guy, got really bored of that. And that took me a while too to get a new job. But this job, I legit got it because of my experience in business this company wanted somebody that knew how to run their own facility.
And what's your title?
Business analyst.
Okay.
So, work for a nonprofit where I'm able to help. I have two pharmacies under me where I run their day-to-day business activities, look at their money. So I was able to, a lot of things I learned from my store. We have a lot of pharmacists in tax, they don't know the business aspect of it. And they're basically new because they had just bought the pharmacies themselves.
And you had pharmacy experience as well.
Yeah, I used to be a pharmacy tech, I think during my college years. I probably quit that right before I graduated. So I already knew the inners of how a pharmacy works. Now I was coming into the pharmacy with that knowledge, plus the knowledge of how to run the business. Obviously, I don't own the business, but I've given them a lot of ideas. Both businesses are profitable. I've been there for about a year now. So they take certain ideas that I give them, there's a lot of people above you. So that's why I don't ever say that me doing my small business was worthless because where I am today, obviously because of the grace of God, but that business helped me to learn everything that I'm doing today. And then whatever I'm going to do next, try to do something on the side, like an online business, real estate, or any other thing. So I'm very open to, I think you should be open to if you're doing it the right way, you should be open to any type of business. Just do your research as much as you can. It's not like I didn't do my research. Plus I had somebody that knew the business aspect, just not what that business was or how to do it. But do as much as you can,
And I think just to sum up a bit of what you're saying here, even the amount of research you do, you can study the ins and outs of the market of the specific store, right?
You can never predict the day.
But nothing's ever guaranteed,
no.
Right? And you're only gonna learn as you get into it and learn how to do, build the business better. You understand the demographic, what people want, so product selection. People want the old time cheap 50-cent sodas at your place because that's representative of the income level there, right? They're not going to have the fancy, kombucha drinks. I don't know, right?
Well, yeah, well,
and then there's the studying part of it. Then there's the there's the studying part of it. There's the adapting to your market and the competitors around you, because I don't know if that played into pricing decisions, but
it definitely did. You have to.
And then there's also, now that you've studied it, you've done the sort of the market analysis for your people adapting into it when you're running it, and then there's also hey, I may have to leave this after 3 years because this is not the right opportunity for me, which you went into already. That also doesn't make you not an entrepreneur, right? Just because you're pivoting out of something, right? I always feel like if you're too delirious to see this isn't working out for me, and you don't pivot, you just lose more, and you make it so that when you go back into it the next time around, it's gonna be even more sour for you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know when to. If you feel like you need to get out of it.
But it doesn't stop you from going into another venture, right?
So
you're gonna do things, in 2025 and 2026, right? Like you have things lined up, whether it's real estate, whether it's online e-commerce businesses, right? You're still an entrepreneur at heart.
Yes.
You're just doing a 9-to-5 to help you get from the one venture to the next.
To the next one, So, you have to look at it that way, Just because I wouldn't consider it a failure. I would say it was a very good learning experience. So you got to think like that. So when you do to the next one, you don't go in with negative thoughts and stuff. You got to stay positive, and because a better opportunity is going to come to you,
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you for sharing. I feel like
inviting me.
I feel like, we're definitely going to have you on more because there's a lot more. We're close friends. The way we did this was like I'm interviewing you for like a job or something. We're gonna make it less formal next time, but there's a lot more that I need to dig from that little cranium of yours that I haven't.
It's a lot. 3 years worth of stories.
No, not even. I'm saying with everything else, with college, with family, everything. I'm gonna dig into that little skull of yours.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for Moon over there in the background for setting up the whole
job.
camera stuff. I think we'll probably have you in the next few weeks. We'll talk about. I have other topics to talk about with you.
Well, love to be back.
But yeah, I think that's a wrap.